Hello, good morning. Today I would like to talk about. So, this is episode 8.1, I think, because I think there'll be multiple episodes to my age 8. So, today I'm going to talk about some memories from age 8. And like I've been repeating many times, there I really, really like this age. There are a lot of fun things that happened in my life. So, the first major event that happened, which actually had a very positive impact on not just my life but the whole family's life, is my dad was already in a really good job. He was regional sales manager for this private company, making good money, and then he switched jobs to this other company called Herbert Sons. And over there, he was actually the regional marketing head for uh, for all of the Andhra Pradesh, which also had Telangana in it. And he also eventually became the regional marketing head for all of southern India towards the end of his career there. So I would say this was definitely the pinnacle of his professional career. It was, he had achieved a lot at a very, very young age. He was probably just just over 40, maybe like 42, 43 years old. And this was really the peak of his career. A lot of perks came his way as part of this. Within a year or so, they uh, they actually gave him his own car. Like, we had a car, but we didn't see a sense in keeping two cars. So we sold our biscuit color Fiat, and they gave him, back then newly introduced into the market was Fiat, but manufactured, made in India, not Italy. So it was called Premier Padmini, and he picked out the color. It was an olive green color. He really liked that color. I actually disliked that color very much, but I never said that to my dad ever, because he was really proud of the color that he picked out. That it was olive green. It was so different. And with that, like, and then what happened was, we also had two weddings in our family. My youngest Mawaya and my youngest Pinny, they both got married that year, age 8. But before the two weddings, uh, what uh, what had happened is, I by this time, the only two cousins that I had only two cousins till then, till recently, Sagar and Anupama. And just around that age, just before I turned 8, they both had their siblings, little siblings. So Anupama had a baby brother, Anil, who was just born, and then Sagar also had his baby sisters. And it was so cute. Like, every time I saw them, they were so cute, the babies. Every time I saw them, I wanted a little sister of my own. Okay. So, funny thing, funny thing was, during that time, we had a TV also, and sometimes they would show movies in the TV. So I saw this old movie called Boo Kailash. It's an N.T. Ramarao movie. N.T. Ramarao was a very famous actor, my favorite old actor actually. So in that he prays to this Shiva, and he's given a Shiva linga. I have one at home also like that, and he's not supposed to put it down, but eventually somewhere, Vishnu tricks him to putting it down on the ground, and then it keeps growing, growing and growing. But anyway, I used to like that movie very much, and I really felt that, oh, if you worship to the Shivalinga, I was convinced that if I worship it, all my wishes would be granted. So in the summers when I used to visit my amama was a very generous lady. Like, she didn't have much, but within whatever she had, she would always be giving grandchildren something. Somehow she would procure things, and sometimes it would be a little comb, sometimes it would be, some little clips, whatever. She would always be giving this. And she would always be buying me stuff. And she wanted that independence of buying me stuff. So even sometimes I think her sons or whoever used to give her money, but she would not keep all of it for herself. She would always like give it to other people. I've always seen her being a giver. But of course, like, there at various periods of time, her favorites changed of who she wanted to give to, but she was always a very giving person. So there was a little clay doll or clay artifacts vendor who would keep all of them in a basket, and who would often pass by that Vijayanagar colony home. So always she would call him, and she'd ask me to pick out a doll or a toy from there. And they were like cheap. They were like, 25 paisa, 50 paisa, like 1 rupee, like that. But there was this one time where she said, pick anything that you want. And I used to be careful. I used to not pick something very expensive. But he had a clay Shivalinga there. And I was like, I wanted that so badly, because I wanted my own Shivalinga to pray with. And it was made of clay. I didn't, and it was pretty expensive. I think it was 1 rupee 50 paisa. And I knew that it was a little bit over the typical budget of what my grandmother would buy for me. I distinctly remember the price of that. It was 1 rupee 50 paisa. And so I picked up that, and I said, oh, can I pick this up? And then she said, sure, sure. And she never hesitated. She bought it for me. Then after I got that, I used to pray to it every day. I did not realize that I could not pour milk and stuff over it like they did in the movies or temples, because it was clay. So a couple of times I poured milk on it, and the paint on the clay started coming off. Then I realized that, oh, I cannot pray with milk. Then I used to pray with flowers, and that I used to find on the in my grandma's house. I used to pray to it every day. And all I did was I just prayed for like a little sister. It was never a little brother. It was a little sister. And little did I did not realize that by that time my mother was already pregnant with my younger sister. But during that time, medical sciences were not so advanced. I think the first 3 months or 4 months, they really could not figure out what was wrong with my mother. At some point, I think they also thought there was a tumor inside her, or some growth inside her. Not a cancerous tumor, but some kind of a growth inside her. Then eventually they confirmed that she was she was pregnant. And but before she became pregnant, I would also fuss a lot at home. I would My dad would keep asking in my birthday, in my seventh birthday, what are you praying for? And then I would always say I want a baby sister. So my dad tried to convince me. He used to say, no, if you have a baby sister, then you'll have to, why not a baby brother? And somehow I said, if it's a boy, I won't touch it. I want a baby sister. Then my dad, I think he knew that my mom was already pregnant, and it could be an either. There was no sex determination back then, or if there was, my parents didn't go for it. So um, he knew it could be either a baby brother or a sister. So he was trying to. I was very vociferously against a baby brother. I said I won't even touch him. So I don't know why I wanted a sister only. And then he was trying to make me kind of open to the idea of having a brother because he didn't know. My mother was very clear, and then she said, if I have a baby boy, he'll be named Srinivas, and if I have a baby girl, she thought of two names. She said it'll be either Nirupama or Swati. For the longest time, I liked the name Nirupama a lot because it seemed to be rhyme with my cousin and I, who are the only girls in that family, granddaughters in that family. We were Anuradha, Anupama, and Nirupama. I thought it had a nice ring to it. So I really liked that name. But later on, as she was drawing closer to term, she realized that the baby could be born under Swati Nakshatra. She was actually born under Vishaka Nakshatra, but it looked like she could be born under Swati Nakshatra. So she said either Nirupama or Swati. Somebody else suggested the name Swapna also. So those were the three names under consideration. If it was a girl, but it was a boy, she was very clear that it was Srinivas. It was going to be Srinivas. So my dad was trying to get me used to the idea that it could be a boy because I was so against it. So he kept saying, "No, a boy is good because if it's a girl, you know, like that bookshelf that Mara built. Like my brother had one bookshelf with one side, left side with two shelves, and I had a bookshelf, the right side with two shelves again up and down. So it was so funny. My dad said, if it's a boy, then Raju, who's my brother, he'll have to share his bookshelf with the boy. But if it's a girl, then you'll have to share your bookshelf with her. Then and it's so funny because books and bookshelves are gender neutral. It's not like a dress or something that even if it's a girl, my brother could share. I didn't have that logic, but he said like that, and you'll have to share everything with her. Then, but I had a solution to everything. I said, well, there are two shelves in the bookshelf, so I'll take the upper one and she'll take the lower one. So, so I was very adamant that it should be a girl. Um, but uh, uh, but the other thing that used to used to pain me a little bit was that my mother, I think, had some opposition from having the baby, and there was some consideration whether she should go through with the pregnancy or not. And she was very adamant that she wanted the baby. And so she felt very possessive and protective about the baby. And she would always refer to it as, this is my baby, this is mine. Like, because she was pretty much stood steadfast against all opposition of whether she should have the baby or not. Now, I was only like 7. I had not even yet turned 8 when she was pregnant. And whenever she said that, I used to get like offended because I was convinced. And like I said, I did not know that she was already pregnant. I didn't know pregnancy lasts 9 months. And especially with her, it was a late age pregnancy. So she they didn't even know whether she was pregnant or not. So, but anyways, I was fully convinced that she was going to have a baby because I had because of my prayers to to the Shivlinga. So I would always get think that I don't know how to tell her. And my amama told me, if you pray for something, you should not tell anybody what you're praying for. So I did not know how to tell her that actually the baby is because of me. The baby is born because of my prayers. And so I wanted to correct her every time she said, "This is my baby." I wanted to tell her that actually it's because of me. But I never corrected her. But it used to hurt me that the baby was born because of me and I'm not getting credit. And that's why I was fully convinced that it would be a girl, because I prayed specifically for a girl. But somehow that, eventually manifested itself, I think. So, anyways, my mother was pregnant, and during that time, uh, my my Banupini, her wedding got finalized. So it was really interesting, because there was a lot of talk, and that's when I realized that my Baba's parents were very wealthy, because there was some internal talk in the house of, they were very nice, they didn't have much expectations, but still they were very wealthy people. And there was internal talk in the house of, my Baba's father, I think, was a general manager of the Reserve Bank, or manager of the Reserve Bank, but he had a very big position. I didn't know what the Reserve Bank was. I only knew the local banks, such as, State Bank, Andhra Bank, etc. So once when we passed the Reserve Bank, I think it was in close to Abbott's and Gun Foundry. I think that's where it was. I don't remember where it was. No. It was in Lakdi Kapul, actually. Yeah, that's where it was. So my dad actually showed it to me, and it was this massive building. It had these big four pillars in the front and big staircase going up there. So I realized then that, oh, that's why there's saying, like, he's a big man, he has a big position. Then I asked my dad, what is the difference between Reserve Bank and Andhra Bank? And then my father explained to me like how it works, how these are all local branches, local banks, and Reserve Bank is, you know, for all of India, it's owned by the central government, and and there were branches everywhere, but it's kind of centrally managed. He explained that whole banking system to me in detail. So I realized that they were very big people. So that's the first time um, I heard even the concept of a wedding reception. Because these were wealthy people, so they my pinnies, my baba's sister was also getting married one day before or one day after, and they were going to have a joint reception for them. So you know, and one thing I appreciate about my pinny is I remember all these conversations at home. She could have been a brat and put a lot of pressure on my amama and tataya that, hey, I want this, I want that. But she would always remove the pressure. Like, they would be talks like, oh, they're doing this big reception, and maybe we should be doing a wedding, like, equal to that. Or and she would always put her foot down. She would say, no, I don't want that. She wanted all the functions, mind you, but she didn't want to go overboard at all. And she would always insist that they keep their portion low key. And she was very vocal. I think she also discussed this very openly with my babai. And my babai, bless him, he was very supportive. He also didn't like any of these. There's a Telugu word. I don't know if there is a English word for it. It's called adambaram. Maybe it comes closest to flamboyance or. So he didn't want like show is the right meaning, I think, in English. He was very opposed to that. He didn't want any of that either. So it was a very good pairing, match made in heaven from that aspect. And she was very very insistent that her dad does not overextend in any manner. So, as far as the wedding preparations were concerned, so they said, okay, let them do the reception and we'll do the wedding. The wedding was very low key, but it's actually one of my favorite wedding ever. Why? Because I also got to understand the concept of Todi Pedli Kuturu, which is like a bridesmaid. There's like a bridesmaid of honor kind of thing. Like a so they chose me for that because my aunt was the youngest and she didn't have any younger sisters. So my amama said, let's make her that. I was really, really thrilled. I got so much attention. So everything that they did for my pinny, they did for me also. So there was one. So my pinny wanted, and it's a tradition also where they it's like a bridal shower, but I don't have the equivalent. It's like a pelli kuturu chedam in Telugu. So they did that, and she got mehendi, and her mehendi was also so different. Back then, Southern Indians just got those 5 dots like this and the thing. But she had her a Muslim friend or some friend, Marwadi friend, do nice mehendi to her. I also got that mehendi. Whatever she did for herself, she made sure that she replicated for me. And she had that little Kalyani bindi, and I also got that. She had like a flower braid, pula jada. I also got that. So, not during the Pellikuturu ceremony. I think I wore some flowers here because I had 2 braids, but it was very, very nice. I felt very important. And I was sitting next to her all along. My babai uh, had his Tori Pelli Koduku, who was like a cousin's son or somebody's son, actually. His cousin's son, I think, or nephew. So he was his Tori Pelli Koduku, and I was a Tori Pelli Kuturu, and it was, oh my, I felt so important. So the one thing I remember is that my grandfather was had retired as a director of a veterinary hospital, and so I think because of that reason he had some connections, or he could get. There was a veterinary hospital grounds very close to where they lived, and I think they could get that place at a kind of a subsidized rate because of his connections or because he had retired like that. So it was available for very less. So they did that. They rented that. It had a little hall available, community hall. They rented that, and the bridal party. It was literally you in the backyard of that grounds. You had to go down a stairs, and there was a little almost like shed kind of thing. And that's where my pinny got her. She was getting ready, and all her friends were sitting there. I remember most of her friends' names. Yasmin, Farida, Janaki, Sujata from Vijayanagar Colony, all of her, like their friends were sitting there. Wherever my aunt went, my Pinny went, she had bunch of close friends, like at least 10 close friends wherever she went, and she was genuinely close. Even now, she's very good at keeping up with relationships and friendships, and she's so, she was so happy, and there was no complaint that, it like, she was so happy. Like, she's one of, I think, the happiest brides I've seen. So active, very, very happy to in her marriage, and very actively taking part, and making sure, also, while also being very responsible, always making sure that my grandfather was not overextending. She was very sensitive about that, and very insistent that he did not stretch beyond his means. The wedding, on the day of the wedding, like, all the bridal party had arrived, cousins from various, like, from different places. They had cousins in Ongole, and they had cousins in Rajamundry, and uncles and aunts, and my grandma's side, my grandfather's side, they'd all arrived. And that's when my dad introduced this novel concept. Now it's not novel, but literally it was my dad. I saw it for the first time in my Pinny's wedding. He said, why do traditionally everybody used to sit on the floor and eat, like from the banana leaves. Then he said, no, let's have something a little bit more elegant. So he arranged to rent uh, these tables, these metal tables, and he put this paper on them. He got that paper roll from his office, and literally they had that afternoon's lunch for the wedding party. Before wedding was very late at night, lunch was literally on the street. They put like a shamiana, they put like a tent kind of thing. It's a flat tent, it's called a shamiana, and everybody, they occupied part of the street, and they diverted the traffic from the side, and everybody had lunch there. And my dad was very instrumental in organizing that lunch and managed everything, so everybody came together. It was like a blast. And then on her wedding, it was late at night. The muhurtam was late at night. It was 1:45 a.m. or something like that. That was also something new to me, very exciting, because first we had dinner, and then the wedding was later on at night. And at night it was pouring heavily, like raining. Not pouring, but I think it was like actually drizzling. It was not pouring. It was pouring in a different wedding. I'll come to that later in episode 11, but it was drizzling a lot. And I remember coming down the stairs, everything was so wet, and they were in this little shed kind of thing, this room kind of thing with asbestos roof. There was water actually leaking from somewhere in the corner. Somebody put a bucket. It was not in the main area where we were sitting. And then my Pinny asked me, told me, go and look where Baba is sitting. So, so I went to look for him, and I couldn't find him in the mandapam or anywhere. And this is the funniest sight that I'll never forget my whole life. He was actually sitting in the audience. Wait, he was not like, he didn't want to be like a showpiece in the limelight. He was actually sitting in the audience, and the only way you would know that he was, the bridegroom was, he had that tilak, and he had that little evil eye warding off black thing. But other than that, he was literally still in his pant and shirt, and he actually had a bag and a book, and he was actually with the book. Like, this was like half an hour before his wedding ceremony started, and he was in the audience. So it was the funniest. I don't know. As a child, I found that so funny that the bridegroom was sitting in the audience reading a book with. So I came, and I couldn't stop laughing, and I told my aunt that I saw him in the audience. That's where I found him. So anyway, then the wedding started, and then my aunt was so engaged, and there was talambralu ceremony where you put the rice on each other's head, and she was so engaged, and her friends were also engaged. It was like a fun fight. It was like the funnest wedding that I attended. And then of course next day was the reception, and my aunt, again, she didn't want to like go to a parlor or anything. She called all her friends, very resourceful, and somebody did a very nice beautiful bun at the back of her head. And um and then she was there, and of course her sister-in-law and her brother-in-law were also there. I saw them for the first time. Her sister-in-law, I saw her for the first time, but what I'll never forget is, uh, her braid was like a python. It was like this thick, and it was literally to her knees. Like, she had beautiful hair, thick hair, and all the way to, maybe not all the way to her knees, but definitely to her thighs. Like, she had like long hair. And I think she might have tied up her hair too, but she had very thick hair. So anyway, that's that. I went over, and so we will need an 8.2, episode 8.2, and I will come to that next. So see you.